Hello, how's it going? How are you doing? I hope you're hanging in there. Today we are going to make rock candy, which I'm excited about. I've never done it before. I've been testing it out the last few days, but it takes about a week to get enough crystals for your rock candy. So I have a brown sugar one that I've started a little bit earlier today. So that one's just getting started. I'll talk about this again later, but once you have it all set up, so I've got my little sticks in here. Once you have it all set up, you're going to want to leave it in a spot that you're not going to move it or touch it for a week so that the crystals can actually form. So what you're going to need is sugar, and I wouldn't recommend brown sugar. I don't know how it'll work, how it'll turn out. If you have just plain cane sugar, that would be ideal. You're going to start with 1 cup of water, and we're going to add 3 cups of sugar to it. All right? As far as what the rock candy is going to grow on, if you have butcher's twine or butcher string, that would be great. If you don't, I do not. If you have a popsicle stick, a clean popsicle stick, or shish kebab sticks, that's what I have here, this skinnier stick. I snapped it in half. This is going to be what your rock candy crystals will actually be growing on. So we are going to be making a very sugary solution and then putting the solution in a glass jar. So you're going to need some sort of glass jar. And then we're going to put some type of stick or string into our glass jar. And I'll talk about that in a little bit when we get to that point. So get a cup of water, get 3 cups of sugar, and we'll get started. So you have 2 options to warm up the sugar solution. You can do it in the microwave. So you can get your water, your 1 cup water and your 3 cups of sugar in a microwave safe container, and you can put that in the microwave after you stir it for 2 minutes on high and take it out and stir it again. At that point, before you take it out, you're going to need an adult. Either way, whichever cooking method you're going to use, you're going to want to grab an adult. So find an adult buddy. And I'm going to be showing you the stovetop method. So grab your adult friend before you get started with this. We're going to take our 1 cup of water, add that to the pan. Turn on your stove. My stove's a little funky. I'm going to do medium high. Then you're going to get your sugar. Do you remember how much sugar? 3 cups. Get some sort of spoon or a whisk to stir your sugar. 1 cup. 2 cups. After 2 cups, you can give it a little bit of a stir to get it mixed in there. Can you see that? So you're going to cloud up the water here with your sugar. So what we're trying to do with this sugar and the water is make a super saturated solution. Lots of big ass words. So by warming up the water, it allows more sugar to go into the water than if we had the water at room temperature. So once you get that in, you're going to want to stir it if you're doing the stovetop method. While you're stirring, we are aiming for getting this solution to its boiling point. So as soon as it starts to boil, you're going to remove it from the stove. For those of you doing the microwave option, you are going to mix up your sugar and your water. Then you're going to put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. After that, have an adult take it out of the microwave and help you stirring it. And you're going to stir that just a little bit until it all stays mixed, and then put it back in the microwave for another 2 minutes. And hopefully you'll see a couple of little bubbles starting to form. So keep stirring until your solution, your sugary, saturated solution here, starts to boil. And then we're going to turn off the stove, okay? All right, so don't forget, once it starts to boil, you're going to want to take it off. Okay, you see this starting to boil? Just a little tiny bit, so you're going to turn off the heat and remove it from the heat source, okay? Make sure you have an adult helping you. So even off the heat, it's still bubbling a little bit here. All right, now that you have your solution off of the heat, we need to prep our containers, all right? So I have 2 glass jars ready. You're going to want to get a plate ready or a piece of wax paper ready, and whatever you're going to use for your crystals to grow on. So if you're using string or a kebab stick or a popsicle stick, get those out. If you're using the kebab stick, just break it so that it's not going to be touching the bottom or the sides of your jar. You don't need it the whole length. So your glass jars are going to get warm on the bottom, so put a little pot holder underneath them. If you need to use a pot holder to hold on to your pot, that's a good idea. So you can get something out for while you're pouring. At this point, an adult needs to be helping with this. So have an adult do the pouring. So you're going to just split it between your 2 containers. If you have food coloring, you can get food coloring. We're going to add it at this point. So try to split it as evenly as possible. Don't worry, we're not rushing. We actually have to let this get to room temperature before we leave our sticks in. But what we're going to do is take our sticks carefully and dip them into the sugar solution. So you're going to dip them in and pull them out. And I'll show you one more time. So you're going to take your stick, and I'm not dipping up to my finger, I'm just dipping the bottom part into the solution and pulling it out. And then you're just going to set those on a plate or on a piece of wax paper. And what we're doing here is we're going to let these sticks dry completely. And we're giving the sugar crystals a little spot to start growing. We're kind of encouraging them to grow on these sticks. So these are our little seed starters essentially for the crystals. So wax paper might be good. They look like they're going to be a little sticky, but that's fine. All right, if you're going to do food coloring, now is the time to add it. So pick your colors. I'm going to try a green, maybe a yellow. So I'm just starting with 3 drops. You can always add more, but it's hard to take it back out. And you can just use a spoon to mix those up. If you don't want to do color, that's totally fine. My brown sugar is just nice and brown. I did not put any coloring in that one. So mix those up if you are choosing to do color. And if you're stirring that with a spoon, you can feel the thickness. You can feel that it's more viscous compared to when you're just doing it with the whisk. Okay, at this point, we're going to let those solutions come to room temperature. But what you are going to want to do is think about how you're going to get your seed starting stick, your crystal seed starter stick, to stay, let me get another jar, upright in your container. So if you just set it in there, it's going to tip sideways. You don't want it touching the sides or the bottom. So I'm going to show you my brown sugar one again. So what I did was I used a rubber band, and I used the piece that I broke off, and I attached that to the rubber band. And then I actually added a popsicle stick. I kind of wanted to see if it grew, if the crystals grew better on one stick versus another. So if you have a piece of string, you can do that. I'm just going to show you a quick little demo here. So get your stick in there. You can snap it off. Or you can cut it with a scissor, that's fine. You're going to want it to hang just a tiny bit off the bottom. It looks like it's touching, but it's really not. So a little bit off the bottom. And then you're going to put the cross piece right up on top. You can also, if you're using butcher's string for this, you can tie your string to a little piece, or to a pencil or a pen or a stick. It doesn't matter. So you just need some way to secure your stick. So that one's going to be a little funky. So you just want to adjust it that it ends up hanging straight in your container. And you might have to add another piece to go the other way to just help keep it upright. So you can kind of get that situated right now. And then we're going to wait for our solution to come to room temperature. And we'll check back in, all right? One other technique too is if you have a clothespin or a little chip clip, you can clip that on there and get that to balance in your jar. It might take a little bit of balancing, but you can do that. You might have to clip it from underneath and have your whole clip in the jar, as long as the clip isn't going to be touching your solution. So that's a pretty easy way to do it. We're back in action. Now we are going to get our sticks into the super saturated solutions. So they don't have to be completely room temperature. You want them not hot, all right? You want to be able to touch the containers that they're in safely. That just helps that the sugar on your sticks, your little starters here, that you don't just dissolve that into the solution also. So I'm going to zoom this down. One other trick you can do is if your little sticks are sticky like mine, you can put them in sugar. You can just kind of put them in sugar a little bit. This one is pretty dry now. But if you put them in the sugar, those little crystals will help with the seed starter. Either way, it doesn't matter. Just having that on there before we put it in the solution will be what we need. So, however you decided you are attaching your sticks, remember we don't want it to touch the bottom. So I'm using a little clip here. We'll see how this goes. Probably go from under. The final result, you just want to make sure that you have it in the solution as much as possible so it gives it more space to grow crystals, but that it's not touching the side or the bottom. So just check that. And then what you're going to want to think about is where can you place these jars so that they're not going to be disturbed, because we have to let these sit for a whole week. So where can you put them so that they're not going to get bumped into? And you can look at them. You can definitely check on them every day and look at them, but we don't want to touch them. So one last thing, once you figure out where you're going to put it, you can just put a little piece of foil or a wet paper towel on top. And after you do that, just make sure you didn't screw around with your stick too much, that you want to make sure it's not touching even after you put your little guy on. So, once you have done that, you're good to go. Now we have to wait for a week and hope that we get beautiful rock candy. All right, as always, we would love to see what you're up to, what you've been creating with us. So send in any pictures. I will include my email in here. So email me if you want, or post it in the comments below. And we hope you're doing well. All right, take care.